Well, thank you so much to everybody who's here tonight on Zoom and in person. I'm Amanda, and tonight we have Andy Saul talking about a 5K.
Yeah.
He's getting started.
Hi everybody, my name is Andy Saul. I'm the Community Health and Wellness Coordinator at Stoughton Health, and I just want to say hi to everybody watching from home, on Zoom and in person. And before I get started, I also wanted to thank everybody at the Stoughton Library, Amanda especially, for helping put this together. I'm really excited for this, and I hope that I can help you take some steps towards either making a behavior change, getting started running for the first time, and you don't have to run. You can walk and jog too, it does count. Like I said, I'm the Community Health and Wellness Coordinator at Stoughton Health, and today we're going to talk about a lot of the basics for running, exercise, nutrition, and so on. So the agenda for today, first we're going to talk about a 10-week plan on if you're going from no exercise at all to running a 5K in 10 weeks. After that, we'll talk about nutrition, hydration, proper footwear and gear, how to warm up before running and how to cool down, injury prevention, and then other general tips and tricks, and we'll have time for questions at the very end. Alright, so the program timeline, that can be found on the left-hand side of your folder. So this program starts out day 1, you walk for about 5 minutes, you jog for 2 minutes, and then you walk for 5 minutes more. And this goes on about every other day or so, and you're slowly increasing the amount of time you're walking and the amount of time that you're jogging. Towards the end of the 10 weeks, that last week, you'll just jog for 25 minutes one day, relax the next, and then increase it from there. And that very last day at the end of this 10-week program is completing a 5K without needing to stop. That's the goal. So I do have paper copies of this, and to those watching virtually, I can also make this sheet available to you so you can access it on your own. But overall, it's about 3 to 4 workouts each week. Like I mentioned, they are progressively more challenging. And that week 1 to 4, you're doing mostly walking with a little bit of jogging. Week 5 is the first time that you're going to run or jog for 10 minutes. Week 8 is the first 20-minute jog without rest. And then, like I said last week, week 10 is 30-minute jog and the race. All right, nutrition is extremely important. I cannot stress this enough. So for nutrition, we're going to talk about the 3 macronutrients, which are carbohydrates or carbs, protein and fat. We'll talk about hydration and electrolytes, and then what's important before, during, and after you exercise for nutrition and hydration. First is carbohydrates. This is your body's main fuel source. The pictures on the right depict what carbohydrates, what that food kind of looks like. The reason why carbohydrates are so important for exercise is they are used for quick energy. So when your body needs energy fast, carbohydrates are that first fuel source. So they can also be stored for long-term use to be accessible in that quick need. It's also essential for sports nutrition. I just touched on that a little bit. When you need energy fast, if you start running, carbohydrates are going to be used. And then examples of these foods are breads, pastas, cereals, rice, and then also fruits and vegetables. All right, protein is very important because it helps build muscle and other tissues. The easy way to think about it is while you're exercising, you're breaking that muscle down, and protein is the building blocks, like the bricks, for building your muscles back up. So it repairs tissues that get damaged during exercise. Examples of this are meat, nuts, and nut butters, beans, dairy products, and also eggs. The last macronutrient is fat, and this helps build tissue and is also used for energy storage. Yes, when we think of fat, we think it's unhealthy, but there are certain types of fats that are healthy. You can see that in the pictures on your right. So things like fatty fish like salmon or tuna, avocados are great, nuts are a great source of fat as well. And then if you're going to have something like oil or butter, it's better to go towards something that is liquid at room temperature. So oil is a better substitute or a better option than butter if you're going to use something while cooking. Hydration and electrolytes. So sweat is composed of both water and electrolytes, so that's things like that salt. And then their electrolytes are small particles that help regulate a lot of different processes within the body. And like I said, it includes salt, which is sodium chloride, so then you see it includes sodium, potassium, and chloride. And when we hydrate, we need to replenish both. So it's important to not only have water, but have water that has a good amount of minerals in it and electrolytes when needed. All right, before exercise. So 3 to 4 hours before exercise, you want to have a decent sized meal. You don't want that to be too close to exercise, and the only reason for that is you just don't want an upset stomach while you're starting to run. So the best option to have is something that's high in carbohydrates, moderate in protein, and just a little bit of fat. So a good example of this is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's got a little bit of protein from the peanut butter, and then more carbohydrates in the bread and the jelly. Then you also see on the right, there's some bananas in there, there's some nuts as well, but also fruit is a great option. Even something like a bowl of oatmeal or a granola bar if you're struggling for that time. So also before exercise, we want to have about 2 cups of water 3 to 4 hours before exercise. And the reason for this is that we're preparing to exercise, so we're going to be sweating a little bit, and we want to make sure that we're not dehydrated before we start exercise. That can have other health implications. Your risk for fainting increases, your risk for having another event increases as well. And then 1 hour before exercise, if you can't have something 3 to 4 hours, you want something that's very high in carbohydrates and even more fluids. During exercise isn't something that most people think about while running. If people have been running for a long time, they might have a little gummy or like a little chew or a different sports drink. But when we're first starting getting running, it is very important to think about your nutrition and hydration during exercise. So when we're having a prolonged exercise in hot conditions, these are very general terms. We want to have carbohydrates while we're exercising. Obviously, we want to replenish a lot of those fluids and electrolytes as well. So something like a sports drink is a great option for your nutrition during exercise. It keeps you going for a longer period of time. And then the general recommendation for fluid replacement is every 15 to 20 minutes that you exercise and you are sweating, so that intense exercise, we want to drink about 8 to 12 ounces of fluid. This can be water, or it can be a sports drink or something else. And then on the last slide, on this slide with the hydration electrolytes, you can see I put a couple pictures of infused water, so that's putting different things like fruit or mint in your water to flavor it if you don't want the excess calories in that hydration. All right. And after exercise, this is going to be likely your most balanced meal, and we want this to try to be within 30 to 45 minutes of exercise to replenish glycogen. And glycogen is that storage of carbohydrates in your muscles that is used for fast and quick energy. We also want a little bit of protein to rebuild your muscles because we talked about how exercise breaks it down. And then also fluids to stay hydrated as well. I can't stress the importance enough of drinking enough fluid. So for every pound lost during exercise, you want to drink about 16 to 24 ounces of fluid in the next 6 hours. And when I say for every pound lost, our weight fluctuates throughout the day. If we eat something, we typically gain a little bit of weight. If we're using the bathroom, we lose a little bit of weight. When we exercise, you lose a good amount of weight during that time just through sweat. So when we want to replenish those fluids, it's important to keep that in mind if somebody is measuring their weight. All right, so now to get into proper footwear. It doesn't look like my picture is loading there on the right, but that's okay. So, I'm sorry. Proper footwear. All right, so proper footwear is important because it can reduce the risk for injury. If you have shoes that are too big or too small, you're more likely to develop an injury. Also, they're more comfortable. If you get shoes that are specifically for running, they're designed in a specific way to keep it comfortable and to also help you long-term throughout that run. It can even improve performance. So if you're going for a specific amount of time or you have a time goal set for a specific run, it can improve your times. Saves energy as well. Usually running shoes are just a little bit curved, so it helps with that. And then it prevents blisters, and also you get a new pair of shoes. It's fun to wear them, and that can also be another motivation to continue to exercise is if you buy a new pair of shoes. All right, and then proper gear. This is going to change depending on the weather, the time of year, the temperature. So typically you want something that is pretty lightweight. So you don't want something that's too thick because that will make you sweat more. You'll need to replenish even more fluids. You want something that's moisture wicking as well. So if it's raining or if you're sweating a lot, you want to get that off of your body. And then you want to wear light or bright colors or reflection at night. So this doesn't have to be a big safety vest. It can be something as simple as like down your sleeve or down your pant leg, having a little bit of reflection on there. And this is a big safety hazard, or a big safety concern. If you're wearing light and bright colors and having that reflection, vehicles are more likely to see you, so you're less likely to get hit by a car. It does happen. Having a hat and sunglasses is also important to block some of the sun from your face. And even in the winter, it's important to have like sunglasses if it's really bright outside. That reflection from the sun onto the snow back towards your face can sometimes be worse than just a normal sunny day when there's not snow. And then, like I said, temperature is important as well. So you want to have something a little bit thicker if it's cold out. You want to be comfortable while you're running as well. And then also accommodate for rain and snow. Have a rain jacket on if you can. And like I said, if it is raining or snowing and it's a little bit darker outside, please have a little bit of reflection at the very least, just so it's easier for people to see you. All right, dynamic stretching. So this is what you should do before we exercise. And you want to do it for about 5 to 10 minutes at the very least. And this involves the entire body. Some of the benefits of dynamic stretching is that it increases your heart rate. So it prepares your body for exercising. We want to make sure that your shoulders are ready. You want to make sure that your hips and knees especially, and your ankles are ready to exercise, and that can prevent an injury as well. Dynamic stretching can also increase flexibility, which reduces the risk for injury and strengthens your core. So on the right, it's a little pixelated on this slide right now, But there's a couple different exercises. So squatting is a great dynamic stretch, and then you want to hold it at the bottom of that squat. High knees is a great one, so that I'll kind of demonstrate a little bit.
Yeah.
So high knees is where you're trying to get your knee up towards your chest, and then if you do it in place, you can do it slow. If you want to hold on to something, that's perfectly fine too. You can do that same exercise while holding on to something, or even while walking across. And then leg swings is another one. So this one I do recommend holding on to a partner's shoulder or something else, and then you're going to be swinging your leg forward and back. Make sure I don't kick anything behind me. Lunges are a great one. And then other things just like jumping jacks, getting your heart rate up, and preparing your body, your joints for exercise. So after we run, or jog or walk, whatever is a good pace for you, or if you're looking at the plan, whatever the plan says, we want to cool down. And this is really good for relaxation after we exercise. It brings the heart rate down as well, which is what we want to do after we're done exercising. This can increase the range of motion and decrease stress on joints as well. So all of these things that I'm talking about today is to help you take those first steps, but also prevent injury. Injury is something that sets a lot of people back, and if we can take steps to prevent that, then you can continue to exercise for a longer period of time. Static stretching also enhances recovery, and it should be gentle. You don't want it to be too uncomfortable, because then you might be straining your muscle more than you're relaxing it. So it should be just a little bit uncomfortable. You should feel that stretch, but it should not be painful. All right, so strength and balance is also important. When somebody wants to first start running, we got to do just a little bit more than only cardio. So mini squats or side steps with a band around your legs are two good exercises to increase your strength. A bridge is where you're on your back and you push your hips up into the air. So that one is going to target not only your legs but also your core. And then there's a couple other exercises that we can get to a little bit later. But more importantly, I wanted to talk about injuries. So like I said before, it's very important to talk about injuries because if somebody gets injured, they're less likely to return to exercise after they recover. Plantar fasciitis is inflammation in tissue that connects your heel to your toes. So a cause of this injury can be the type of shoe. So that's why I mentioned the importance of footwear before. Your foot structure can be a cause of it, but also the most common cause is overuse. If you are running more than you ever have before, it's likely that you can develop this injury or some others that we'll talk about. So some exercises that you can do to reduce the risk of developing plantar fasciitis or to help with plantar fasciitis if you already have it is to roll a tennis ball on the bottom of your foot like that picture the person is doing there. And this can be with or without a sock. I typically do this before I exercise as well. And then if you don't have a tennis ball, you can even freeze a water bottle and do it with a water bottle. And then a couple other ones are a single leg stance or just massaging the bottom of your foot can simply can be a simple exercise to do if you don't have a tennis ball or something else that's accessible. So the picture on the right shows a couple of different muscles and tendons in your legs, and your iliotibial band, or IT band as most people know it, that is what connects your some different muscles on like the side of your leg. And this connective tissue from your hip goes all the way down to your shin bone. So it runs along the entire side of your upper leg. And this becomes really tight when people are exercising. So we want to make sure that it stays loose. If your muscles are more loose, then you're less likely to develop one of these injuries. So an exercise that you can do is take a rolling pin that you use for like rolling out cookies or dough at home. You can use that and just roll out the side of your leg, or use a foam roller. And then icing is also something that you can do to reduce the inflammation in that area. And then even exercises to strengthen your hips, your hip flexors, so that's like on the front of your leg, or other exercises to strengthen the muscles in your legs can reduce the risk for injury by providing a little bit of cushion, is the easy way to explain it, around your joints. And then more common injuries, so runner's knee is just irritation on the underside of your kneecap. So if you think about a ball and then putting a piece of paper over that ball, on the back side of that paper, on the back side of that paper is where people feel that pain. So this can feel like grinding when you're straightening the knee, and then also while running, if it's repeated, you can feel that grinding often. So exercises, again, is using a rolling pin or a foam roller to put some pressure and massage your quads, so that's the muscles on the front of your legs, or your IT band, which is on the side. Straight leg raises, bridges, mini squats, hip abductions, those are all exercises that you can do to reduce the risk of runner's knee. All right, common injuries continued. So Achilles tendonitis. This is another overuse injury to the band of tissues that connects your calf muscles to your heel. And some common causes of this, again, it's repetitive or intense use and a sudden increase in intensity or duration of a run. So if you are starting to run or exercise again for the first time in a while or the first time ever, please take it slow. We got to take baby steps so we don't get injured. Again, a baby step might look as simple as walking for a few minutes a day and slowly increasing that. Another cause can be just having a flat foot, so that is more genetic, or a tight calf, so that can be prevented by, again, stretching or massaging. Worn out shoes or hilly terrain is probably the most common causes of Achilles tendonitis. And you're on your toes a little bit more when you're going uphill. So we want to make sure that we're taking it slow when we're first starting. Prevention, again, it's increase your run gradually. So you don't want to run for 30 minutes if it's the first time that you've exercised in a while. You want to build up to that. We want to make sure that we have a proper warm-up, so we're getting all of our muscles ready to exercise. And then stretching, good footwear can also help, and strengthening with different exercises like heel raises, hip adduction, or bridges. So again, strengthening can help reduce injury. It's not only flexibility. All right, so then just other general tips and final thoughts. Something that I stress is, on a day like today, running, whether it's raining or the weather is great. If you have a plan to exercise one day, don't let the weather deter you from exercising, unless it becomes unsafe, right? If there's like flash flood warnings or something like that, or if it's lightning, or if it's in the winter and it's really icy outside, you want to take those things into consideration. But on a day, maybe not quite like today, if it was raining a little bit less, I really stress to people that it's important to stick with your plan regardless of the weather. Bringing a water bottle is also important. So earlier we talked about replenishing those fluids while you're exercising, but also before and after. So bringing a water bottle with you, you're more likely to replenish those fluids, and you don't have to catch up later on in the day. So running on the left side heading into traffic, if you're on a road and you don't have the option to be on a sidewalk, you want to run on the opposite side of the road that you would drive. The reason for that is because you can see cars coming towards you and you know if they're paying attention or not. So if a car is swerving, then you can go off the side of the road if you need to. Whereas if you were to be running on the right side of the road, where we would typically want to drive, cars are coming from behind you and you can't see if people are paying attention or not. You don't know how many cars are coming or how close they are to you. So that's why I want to stress, if you do have to be on the road while you're running or walking, please be on the left side going towards traffic. When the weather is warm, we want to wear light and bright colors, and then also have moisture wicking clothes like I mentioned before. If we're wearing darker colors when it's warm outside or when the sun is shining, we're more likely to overheat, which means we're going to be losing more of those fluids. We want to retain as much fluid as possible. Avoid the hottest part of the day, so around this time of the year, it's 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Around winter, that can get reduced a little bit from about like 11 to 2 or even noon to 1. If you're running in a large group, when you're in traffic, please be in a single file line. I know that we want to walk and talk with our friends, and we want to have that social aspect of exercise, which is also very important. But when we're around traffic, safety is our number one concern, and please be in the single file line around traffic. And then things like posture, cadence, tempo, and pace. These are all running terms. So posture, we want to be straight up when we're running. You don't want to slouch your shoulders at all. So I always tell people to try and bring their shoulders and squeeze their shoulder blades together before they're running. And then during their run, they typically can do something a little bit more natural. Cadence and tempo are very similar. So this is how fast your feet are hitting the ground and how long of a stride that you're taking. So we don't want to overextend ourselves with the stride that we're taking. We don't want to be pushing ourselves so far forward that you can't slow down if you need to. And then also pace. If you're going for a specific time, let's say you're going 1 mile and you want to get a 12-minute mile, we want to think about the pace during that entire run. You're going to have a lot of energy towards the start of that run, and you want to retain as much of that energy as possible. So you don't want to start faster than you would finish. We want to have typically about the same pace for that whole time. So although you might feel like you have the energy to start very fast right away, conserve your energy so you can keep that pace up during the entire run. So those are just some final thoughts that I have, and I know I went through this pretty quick. Typically, if we had a couple more people, I would have some exercises to demonstrate, and I would have people come up and I can correct some of those exercises. So if you do want to connect at all, and something else that I also want to stress is it's not easy to start this on your own. So something else that I do through Stoughton Health is health coaching. This is working one-on-one with people to help them achieve their goals. The first time we meet, we would set long-term goals, and then after that we would talk about what steps you can actually do to reach the long-term goals. Having an action plan is very important, which is why I included in the folder that everybody got today. There is a 10-week plan, step-by-step, on how long you should run or jog or walk each day to help build up to a 5K. Like I mentioned at the beginning of today's presentation, we start with 5 minutes of walking, 2 minutes of jogging, and then another 5 minutes walking. And that's it for day one if you're truly going from a sedentary lifestyle to wanting to build up to a 5K. I would love to open the floor to any questions. If you're on Zoom, please type it in chat and Amanda can help me out with asking some of these questions. If any of you have questions as well, I'd be happy to try my best to answer those. Feel free, give me a call, that's my office number on there, or send me an email. It's asaul, S-A-U-L, at stoughtonhealth.com. I can answer any other questions about running, exercise, nutrition. I can lead you to the right person if I can't help you answer that question, and then also for that health coaching, which is very valuable to have somebody walk you through step by step. So, are there any questions?
So,
Yeah.
when you talk about jogging,
Yep.
how fast is that? Like, if I'm on the treadmill at the gym, what would that be as far as like miles per hour?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Thank you for asking. So that's going to be different for every person. So what I would explain it as, so like jogging for myself, just speaking like from personal experience, I'm pretty tall, so my strides are going to be really long compared to other people. So jogging for me is probably about like that 4 miles an hour. So jogging pace on a treadmill is where you're walking and then you can't walk any faster, so you have to lift both feet off the ground at some point in order to take your next step. So that jogging pace would be whatever miles an hour that is, probably in the 3 to 4, possibly 5 miles an hour when we're walking, and you can't walk any faster, so you got to pick up the pace a little bit. I hope that answers your question. When people talk about jogging versus running, I know that's another question that I get often. It's really up to the individual if they consider it jogging or running. I don't believe that there's any hard definition of when somebody is considered jogging versus running. So, any other questions at all?
Nothing from the chat yet, but I have a question. What is a hip abduction?
Yeah, so hip abduction, so that is the easiest way to explain it is abduction is when you're pulling your leg away, and then adduction is when you're pulling your leg towards your body. So that is going to work our muscles around our hips. So if you're on the ground, you can do it laying on your side and put one leg up into the air. And then if you're standing, you can do it just like I am now, typically holding on to something. Sometimes you can put a band, like a resistance band, around your knees to increase that resistance and make it a little bit more challenging. Or if you have the equipment at home or at a fitness facility, you can put they have like cable machines where you can put an ankle strap around your ankle, and then you can pull as much weight as you want to on that cable machine. So abduction, it's ABD, is away. Adduction is towards your body. Yeah, of course. Any other questions? Perfect. Well, thank you everybody for attending today. I did list my sources as well, but I feel like that's not as important as the contact information. And like I said, it's not easy to do this on your own. If you can find a friend or a family member to help you through this, whether they've exercised or not in the past, it's always easier to do it with somebody else. If you don't have that person, please email or call me and I can be that person for you. Like I said, Stoughton Health does have a health coaching program, so that's working one-on-one with people individually to achieve your goals. Also included in the folder, just to point out what some of the other resources are, the left-hand side has that 10-week program, and then behind that is a copy of all the slides for today. On the right-hand side, there's resources on our urgent care locations, and then also our rehab and sports medicine team. We have a couple different locations for that as well. Urgent care we have in McFarland, Oregon, and in Stoughton, it's actually at the main hospital. It's a combination of an urgent care and the ED. And then the page behind that is upcoming classes and events. So there's a well-being screening in October. There's memory screenings that we host at our Community Health and Wellness Center that's on the corner of Highway 51 and County Road B. We have something going on there almost every day. The one behind that is the flyer for the health screenings and the well-being program. So that is another program that I'm running at Stoughton Health. So that is a survey that you're assessing your own health risks, and then the screenings like blood pressure, body composition, bone density, and your blood work as well. And included in that program is health coaching. And then lastly, it talks about the different numbers that we screen and why we screen those specific numbers. So if anyone has questions on the specific resources there, please let me know. I can leave some folders here as well.
We just had a question. We have 2 people on Zoom, and one said, can they have a folder? So
yeah,
yes, we will hold on to a couple
of course.
Of those.
Yeah, I'll leave those here. I prepared them just for tonight. So I really appreciate everybody's time today and work with all the technology. It makes it easy when I don't have to worry about that stuff. But yes, please contact me if you have any questions. But I hope everybody has a great rest of their night.
Did you want to talk a little bit about the McFarland event? You'd mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah, so the McFarland event, sorry about that. We are doing a recliner to 5K event in McFarland, and that is essentially the same program as it was tonight, but in addition to that, we're doing 3 practice sessions with anybody who comes. So we go there about 3 days out of those 10 weeks before the 5K, and then myself and Michelle Hahn, a physical therapist, are going to be doing that day's program with the people who attend. So it's a little bit of extra accountability. We have that social aspect of exercise, which is just as important, and we also can be there to answer people's questions, because typically people have more questions after you leave than when you first come. And then they also are running their own 5K at the McFarland ED Lock Public Library as well. So that's kind of what this program tonight stemmed from, is that program. If you wanted to go to that kickoff session, it is next week, Tuesday at 6 p.m. at the library in McFarland. And going a little bit more in depth with some of the nutrition, we're going to have a registered dietitian, Dana, there. We'll have somebody who is, again, Michelle. She's a physical therapist with us at Stoughton Health. She will be there as well, going in depth on the exercises. She'll demonstrate it a little bit more. And then we also have somebody from Fleet Feet in Madison coming to talk about the importance of good footwear. And they have a fit process to find the perfect shoe for somebody, and their focus is on running, from my understanding. So we have a team of people that's going to be there next week, Tuesday, but today was just a little bite of what is available to you. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amanda. I really appreciate it.